right. Well, welcome everyone to today's webinar. I'm just going to give a few seconds for everybody to join here today. We're right at the top of the hour. I just wanted to wish everyone a happy upcoming Memorial Day weekend. I know everyone's probably looking forward to having a nice long weekend. We will hope to get you in and out as quickly as possible today, because I'm sure you are trying to wrap up as much as you can before enjoying a nice holiday. But let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so just a quick few housekeeping items here. As a reminder, we will be sending the recording of this presentation out in case you have to drop early, or we're hoping to share the presentation with a colleague who wasn't able to join. We've reserved 45 minutes for today's presentation, and we have a few interactive questions throughout. So if you haven't already, go ahead and locate the raise your hand and the Q&A options on your Zoom toolbar, because I will be throwing some questions out here in a bit. And today on the webinar today, we have myself, Leah Davenport. I serve as our Senior Marketing Manager here at Pursuant. And I'm also thrilled to be joined by Ryan Carpenter. Ryan, say hi to everybody.
Hey, everybody. Glad you're here to join us. Hope you gain some great information, which I believe you will, out of today's webinar.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. Ryan works really closely with our clients who utilize the GivingDNA platform. He informs a lot of strategy and is in the data all the time. And so he really knows the subject of sustaining giving well, and because he helps our clients leverage that from day to day. So I know you will get, it's a treat to be able to hear from him today. All right. So here's a quick overview of what we'll be discussing today. And like I mentioned before, we reserved about 40 to 45 minutes to cover the following points, with some time for Q&A at the end. And again, you can use that Q&A panel to enter in any questions at any time. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. All right. So if you attended or watched the recording of last month's webinar, you heard that at the end of 2020, AFP's Fundraising Effectiveness Project analyzed giving trends from the past year, and here's what they found. Kind of starting over on the far left over here and moving to the right. So donors and donations were significantly up year to date, which was a pleasant surprise, I'm sure, given the incredibly chaotic year that we had. But over on the right over here, you'll notice the troubling trend that retention was down. And looking at this a little bit more closely, you can see that starting in about 2017, we had a peak of about overall retention rates hovering at about 47%, declined a little bit in 2018. It rose in 2019, perhaps when the economy was really strong and really booming in 2019. And then it slipped again in 2020 when people shifted their giving habits, given all of the chaos and around the pandemic and all the other issues that arose in that year. And so with that, nonprofits retained only about 19% of new donors and saw retention rates slip to about 43%, which was a decline of about 4% year over year. So the main takeaway from these statistics that I love to kind of use to lead into our topic of monthly giving is that retention should be a key focus of your organization in 2020. And sustaining giving is a really powerful way to build loyalty with new donors and deepen loyalty with those who have stuck around. It also builds the charitable giving muscle of donors who want to give more, but have a hard time being consistent or budgeting that generosity. And so before we kind of throw a question out to the group, Ryan, do you have anything to add here?
Well, I just think, looking at that FEP report, it speaks to the challenges that your donors were facing. You did lose some of your donors. They could have been key multi-year. Then on the flip side, you also acquired a lot of new donors. And the question is, what do we do with them? How do I keep them? And I think offering them a monthly donor program is a key to retaining as many of those new donors that you acquired throughout 2020.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so I have my first kind of interactive question. So if you want to locate that raise your hand button right now, before we kind of get into some tactics of sustaining giving, let's just go ahead and get the discussion going. So do you have a branded monthly or recurring giving program, or a monthly giving option on your donation form?
And I think, Leah, that there's the distinction between the two. I'm sure many of us out there have a monthly option on your, your landing page or in the a mailer, but I think that's quite different from a branded program.
Yeah, and we'll have some examples of what a branded program looks like on this next slide in case you have some questions around what do you mean around a branded giving program. So it looks like we had 2 people raise their hand around this, and so I am, or 3 people. Thank you so much. Thank you for chiming in. Let's go ahead and move to our next question. So this time, if you want to go ahead and use the Q&A panel, do you have a sustaining giving program, whether you call it, do you call it a monthly program, a recurring program, or if you have a branded name, what is your branded name? Go ahead and drop that into the Q&A.
And I see them coming in too. Love to see some of those examples and, what you call it. So I think it's important to, based on what you call it, what do your donors think it is as well?
Awesome. I see some phrases of champions. I also see legacy partners, ambassador. Yeah. Hunger Heroes, that's a nice one. World Ambassador Program. So those are some powerful names. Thank you everybody for chiming in, and feel free to continue adding your thoughts and comments in as we move into our presentation. All right, so thank you everyone so far for your participation. And before we kind of get into some examples of monthly giving programs and some tactics around how to engage more people on your file into them, I wanted to draw a quick parallel with the business world that I found really powerful once I kind of was sitting down and pondering this topic and thinking about some applications for the nonprofit space. And so starting back in the 2010s, businesses kind of cottoned on to the fact that subscriptions were big money. And you see this most often, and this was already ongoing, but most often with streaming services like Netflix and like HBO Max or Amazon Prime. But you also see it with these idea of boxes that are mailed to you on a monthly basis. And a lot of times these are ways to kind of conveniently get goods and services delivered at a frequency that you consume them. So razors, like subscribe and save products off of Amazon, maybe you get like diapers mailed to you or something if you've got a baby, or something like coffee beans. But you also see people, especially millennials, that are also subscribing to some of these more splurge type items like wine, or makeup samples, or pop culture memorabilia. And what this kind of demonstrates is that people with disposable income, they're dropping, upwards of $100, combined with all of these subscriptions a month on some of these kind of luxury items. And it gets them in the habit and builds loyalty with that brand. Because I don't know about you, but when I find out there's an envelope in my mailbox that has some goodies in it for me, I want to go out and check out what that is as soon as I get home.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ryan.
I just think I'm looking at this, and we have so many boxes that come on a weekly basis just from subscribing for my wife, my kids, myself. And thinking about it, you don't turn it off that often. I haven't turned many of ours off that we've signed up for the last couple of years. And that's so applicable to, what you can offer from a monthly recurring program offer as well.
Yeah, like especially when I heard like this one over here on the far, there are a few over here are interesting to me. So for example, Cause box. This is one I actually just found when I was doing some research for today, but it is a box that you are delivered like sustainable products or products that have some kind of a social good benefit associated with them. And so if you're someone who wants to make yourself feel a little bit better about getting a new coffee mug or a face cream or a, you know, a barrette or something sent to you every month, like that can kind of scratch that charitable giving itch a little bit. And then even just little things like Loot Crate. A few guys in my life have subscribed to this, and they just get little figurines and toys and t-shirts and things that you're like, why are you wasting money on this? But people love getting this stuff. It's like a little gift to yourself every month. And so why not, like I said, tap into this phenomenon that people are already budgeting for, they're already getting sent to them, and leverage that kind of rhythm that they're associated with already in your charitable giving. All right, so I wanted to have a few examples to put in front of you of some charitable giving, some branded programs. And what I wanted to highlight about these is they illustrate a few different points that we'll be highlighting in the next few slides. But I want to just kind of show how they kind of have it laid out with like different options and different giving levels for how you want to structure your monthly gift, and kind of how they have the imagery set up to sort of show the benefit that you're providing as you sign up for whatever your monthly donation is going to be. I'm pretty sure this one over here on Charity Water has that $40 a month pre-selected, which is that's right down the middle of the average of what people give every month. And then they also have over here, I kind of like this option up here on the top left, where it shows how you can engage in monthly giving online or by phone or join by mail. So if you have people that you know are engaging in different channels, you can still reach them and engage them in their monthly giving pipeline, even while taking their giving preferences, their giving channel preferences into account. All right. So Ryan, why don't we take it into what are some different tactics and stats around how to leverage monthly giving for retention?
Yeah, I mean, it can really turn the tide on retention. Donors are organically increasing their numbers of donations they make to the same organization. So as they continue to give to you year over year, they're actually giving more, and that makes sense. Their relationship with you is stronger. So I think by creating a monthly program that supports that organic attachment and increase in frequency of giving can really and optimize that relationship and that nature of giving. So let's take a look at some of the details behind it. One thing I think is important is like, look, donors that are recurring, they're here to stay. Dr. Adrian Sargent had remarked recently, a 10% improvement in your donor retention rate can equal 200% in donor lifetime value. Recurring donors continue giving significantly longer than non-recurring donors. And how long would you ask? You can go to the next slide. Another expert that many of you are probably familiar with, Erica Warsdorf, who's really the industry expert when it comes to monthly giving program, tells us in a recent blog post that most nonprofits are willing to spend twice the annual value of a sustainer to make it worth their while, because typically monthly donors stay on with you for 5 or more years. And that's certainly not a bad return on investment, not to mention the positive impact this has on donor retention. So think about that. It makes sense to invest higher in your monthly donor program and your monthly donors, because the act of getting those donors to become sustainers, they're going to retain significantly higher. That increases the lifetime value of those donors. And so I would like to just get into some key metrics beyond what our industry experts are telling us. What are some of the findings that we've seen over time that can really open up your eyes to why it's effective and you should really consider starting a branded monthly donor program? And so, as I said, these donors retain for many more years than non-recurring. And the average donor retention rate is 46% across the nonprofit space. As an aside, I would check that and see how you're comparing. That's a good stat to understand overall about your fundraising programs. Now, that said, retention rates for donors that are giving through EFT can rise to 90% or more. Imagine that. I work with some clients here at Pursuant that their sustainer programs are over 90%. I'm like at 94% for the last 4 years or so. So it's really, I've seen it myself, and throughout the industry, that's something that is fairly common. It's really a set it and forget it for many of those donors, myself included. I'm a monthly donor to one organization that's close to me. I give to others, but I don't give every year. But this organization in particular, I mean, I've been giving for a few years now, and I appreciate getting updates from them. It keeps me close, but I'm going to continue to give, and it's not something where I really have a decision to make unless my decision is to give more monthly or to not give at all. It's just kind of it's set up and it's going. And so one other thing that kind of allies with Erica Worsdorf's statement is most monthly donors stay on average for 5 to 7 years, sometimes longer. Now, considering that you lose 80% of your new donors after year one, that's significant. We spend all this money trying to acquire new donors. It costs more to acquire new donors than it does to retain donors already on file. And if you can get those donors already on file to give in a recurring frequency, whether it's quarterly or they're signing up for annually, but hopefully monthly, they're going to stay on significantly longer, and you're going to, that's going to help your retention of your file. The more donors you have giving automatically in a recurring nature, it's going to support that increase in retention.
Yeah, and something I would love to just pipe in and add here is like just thinking back to our example of those monthly subscription boxes. I bet you that if you have a loyal donor who's been giving to you for years and years, and there's someone who, if they are facing some kind of a financial strait, they're probably more likely to cancel their little monthly luxury of some kind of a subscription box that comes to them with a little fun thing to enjoy, rather than sever their relationship with you. Because I don't know about you, but I would feel pretty bad if I stopped providing water for someone in Africa so I could continue to get my wine of the month box. So that is also kind of something to think about as we sort of see for-profit businesses kind of competing in that monthly recurring giving.
I would even add, though, I think when people have to make decisions, it's going to be more along the lines of those one-off ad hoc purchases or things that they don't necessarily have established on recurring nature, whether it is a box that comes from Stitch Fix or something, or if it's their monthly donor that they give to their favorite nonprofit.
Yeah, it's just a powerful. Humans are creatures of habit, and
Right.
we don't like changing. We don't like changing our the things that we come to expect in kind of our day to day and week to week rhythms of our lives. So anyway, turn things back over to you.
Yeah, go ahead. So here's some other really cool stats that really reinforce the strength of recurring monthly donor programs. And so according to M&R in their 2020 benchmark study, monthly donors give 3 times more annually than their single gift annual donors. And we oftentimes think of, oh, well, my monthly donor, they give, to Leah's point, $40 on average. A lot of them, they'll give $20 a month on average. But then you consider, well, I have these other donors that are writing $1,000 checks. The reality is that depending on where you look, I know with M&R, the comparison was $111 was the average annual gift made by a single gift donor, whereas monthly donors on average are giving $300. So that's just one metric that shows the discrepancy and the increased value of those monthly donors, not only just their likelihood of retention, but their value. And look, 1 in 7 will remember you in their will. I think that many people, when they think about legacy prospects, while that population definition has shifted a little bit over the years, those that are giving to you consistently have always been a really fertile ground. So looking for a population of prospects, certainly any of your donors that have been consistently giving through a recurring program for the last year plus is a good place to start. And added benefit is, forecasting legacy gift giving is just not really possible with like real accuracy. And I've done some of that before, and you can try to gauge it off of what's happened in the past, but that could violently swing from one year to the next. But if you could look at how many of your donors that come from your recurring program end up becoming legacy donors down the road, that can certainly help you. And you can get at least some sort of baseline of like, what can our plan giving department, plan giving team expect at minimum to bring in 1 year after the next. Also, I think, small monthly gifts can attract more younger donors, and we're always trying to get younger in our donor pool. Every organization, your typical donor is going to be over 64, 65 years old. One great way to attract younger donors is by having an offer to give small sums, but lock them in recurring. They're going to stay on file for 5 to 7 years, most likely. As those 5 to 7 years continue on, they're going to increase their own wealth, and you may see greater giving as well. And so in addition to what M&R saw, we saw the average monthly gift is $52, which is 624 in a single year. That's actually, I'd have to check where that metric came from versus M&R, because $624, I've worked with a lot of mid-size organizations throughout the country, let alone larger, that $500 qualifies as a mid-level gift. So now we're getting into, these are really valuable donors that you can count on. They're loyal and they are valuable to you. And as I had said, with respects to legacy giving, strong monthly donor program can really help you reliably forecast. It's a predictable cash flow. It's more reliable than even just your general annual giving. There's certainly less stress to get those large one-time gifts, and less worries about cash flow. It really allows you to focus more on your mission. If you can understand, if you have a strong uh, monthly or recurring program that you can count on for a significant amount of revenue each and every year, that is going to take away a lot of worry, and it's going to allow you to plan for programmatic work that you'll have the resources for there.
Mhm. Something to add here too, we don't have a bullet for this on the slide, but something that occurred to me as you were speaking, Ryan, is there has been a pretty consistent statistic that comes out from like Target Analytics and some of those other Giving USA, different people who run the numbers each year on donors, and we still see about 30% of an entire nonprofit's revenue come in December at year end. And so that can be a bit of a nail biting time if you are getting 30% of your budget coming in December. And so monthly giving is another way to kind of like, as we've mentioned, to spread that revenue out over the year, and then also tee things up, because you have people that are making gifts every month. Those are people that you can tease 3 months out and say, hey, year-end giving is coming up. We see that you've been loyally giving to us every month. Like, as this year-end is approaching, if your heart is moved to make a gift to us, we invite you to start thinking about that now.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And so from that, I think we've talked about the subscription model, but it's about donor convenience and donor experience. And I feel like in the nonprofit space, we're always chasing what the commercial market has already done and has found successful. And this is something that has been working, and it's creating an experience for their customers that we're all accustomed to, that we all like. It wouldn't be here and it wouldn't continue to grow if that wasn't the case. And so if you think about that, taking another best practice from the commercial market and then implementing it here with your constituency base, we're all used to this. This is something that we're accustomed to and actually would prefer in many cases. So having that option to just give on a consistent basis is something that's going to be attractive and really common and feel normal to your constituents, particularly I would say the younger, from the Gen X down to Gen Y, Gen Z. And so kind of the structure of a monthly giving program. I think what's important is a branded program creates belonging and community. And if you can quantify monthly giving impact with gift handles, that's even better. We saw some of those examples at the start of the presentation. You can really offer great benefits to add value and create loyalty. You can build community with special forum just for monthly donors, like a private face group page. You can develop strategy for asks outside of monthly support. I think what is important is that monthly donors will typically make an additional gift, like a big gift at the end of the year. I've worked with a number of organizations like Feeding America and Wounded Warrior Project, who both had large in successful branded monthly sustaining programs, but we'd often find that a sizable percentage of those donors, and they were giving, $10, $25 a month, then they'd write a check for $100 on top of it all. So you can develop a strategy around that. It's not as if you can't ask these donors. You certainly pull them out of the monthly communications and appeal stream that you likely have for your annual general fund, but you would want to continue to incorporate them at some point in time, very likely at the end of the year. As I said, branding the program creates belonging in community. And so you can see here some of these examples. The spring, join our community of monthly donors, bringing clean water to people in need. They're saying it, you're part of a community. What it's also doing, and I've done this with mid-level and sustainer programs in the past, is it's kind of a psychological thing that you're building this community. You're letting these people know that they are important to helping you achieve your goal. In this example, providing clean water to people in need. You're actually setting them up for, they know that you're relying on them. So they're part of a community. They feel good about it. You're telling them that they're important, and they're telling them why it's important. And then as that person recognizes that, it's also like, I have to continue this. Because I am important to helping my favorite organization achieve their goal. And I think this is something that's very common with many of you and what you're doing with your direct marketing communications, whether through email or mail, is quantifying the giving impact with giving handles. If possible, I would assume a lot of you have that ability to do so, and you're doing it already. And so expand that within your monthly program offering. The increase in impact and the efficiency, because in many cases, if you're going to be giving on a more consistent basis, that's going to increase efficiencies. That's going to be more enticing for a donor to say, well, I typically give $1,000 a year, but if I just gave $100 a month, which again is a little bit of an increase, but I can see the impact I'm going to be giving, and it's going to help my organization operate more efficiently. That's an attractive offer. But it's also about the benefits and the donor experience that can really add value and create loyalty. So, as I mentioned, build a forum for just monthly donors. You want to develop the strategy for outside asks. Also, think about upgrade asks for your participants. They may be giving monthly to you, and it may be $25 a month. At the beginning of the year, or at their anniversary, maybe recognize that anniversary and ask if they could contribute X amount more. So those are all little tactics that you can implement to not only bring them in as monthly recurring donors, making them feel good about it, but also continuing to upgrade them throughout certain points of the year. And the ask could take the form of or the offer rather to join the community could take the form of access to exclusive blogs or newsletters. Thinking about what you already offer. What do you have? What are your major donors getting? What are some of the exclusivity? What's something that's exclusive that you're offering? You don't have to recreate the wheel when you create these programs. So if you have you thinking about creating a branded monthly program, one thing I found in creating these programs, creating mid-level programs, is that it's not about tchotchkes and premiums, right? People are going to be giving to you more frequently or at higher levels because they care about your cause. So I think what they're really craving is insider information, access to information that they typically wouldn't get. So offering that, while it's not a premium, it is a benefit. And I would say that people that want to give to you on a monthly basis, premiums can very likely be looked at as wasteful. So think more about information. What do these people want to know? They care enough to give to you on a monthly basis, and they care enough to give enough consistently. They want information. They want to know that what they're doing is having an impact on your mission. Another thing that's kind of cool with building community that we've done in the past is having a newsletter specifically for this group. And within this newsletter, do interviews. Maybe it's a quarterly newsletter, and have an interview once, twice, four times throughout the year, showing them the face and the name of somebody that is like them and telling their story of why they do it. You can also then take that and use that as opportunities to offer it to your greater annual fund and convert more donors to recurring donors. So thinking about all that, how do you do it? How do you recruit? It's really a multi-channel approach. Your constituents are multi-channel constituents, in 2021. And monthly giving will appeal to subsets within all age groups and channel preferences. So you don't want to miss out on it. Direct mail, yes, we're going to get the older contingency that historically has been giving to your monthly program. But that doesn't mean that there's younger people or people that have a preference for online that wouldn't like that set it and forget it, that subscription model. So you want to be able to offer it online as well. And then phone campaigns can certainly work too. I mean, for a number of our higher ed organizations that do phone-a-thons, a key component is asking if they would like to give on a recurring basis. One thing I think is important is when you're recruiting, visualize the impact of a monthly gift. And as I said before with dollar handles, quantify that impact. So not unlike what you're doing, I think you skipped ahead there.
Yeah, I skipped ahead, Ryan, because I was keeping an eye on the time. And I think I want to get a little bit more I want to make sure that before people drop today, they can see some of the tactics on how to find recurring donors in their file. And
Sure.
so I just wanted to skip forward a little bit.
No, that's glad to do that. So like really who to target? Well, there's a lot of different groups you can target. I think your key multi-year donors, your loyal donors that are giving you multiple gifts a year already. Let's make a formal relationship here, right? And ask them to commit to doing that. Also, donors that are brand new to your organization, after you've run them through your welcome series and you're ready for that follow-up ask them if they'd like to become a monthly donor. And if you have age on file, certainly look at those younger donors, they're subscription lovers. But again, using age, if you have age on file, older donors on a fixed income, this could be something attractive to them as well. And so with that, I think let's show you a few ways that we identify monthly donor prospects for our clients and our users on GivingDNA. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And so this is just one way that we do it using the GivingDNA platform. But if you think about the tactics and strategies we're using, it could also be something that you can implement. Now, we do offer a basically sustainer candidate. So with our platform, you log in, we look at how people are giving to your organization. We're going to identify the best people, and then we're going to give you some tips on how to offer them to become monthly donors. So that's one way that we do it. But if you're not currently a user on GivingDNA, you want to look at some of giving behaviors and groups of individuals that could be your first group to ask. And so I would first look at your key multi-year donors. If you look at your donors through life cycle, which is a very common way to look at how donors are giving to you. Key multi-year, these are based on like the industry definition, donors that are currently active and they've been giving to you for at least 3+ years. Definitely want to look at that group of individuals. They're already loyal to you. And I think that they would be a great group that you could offer some sort of recurring, giving offer. From there, if you have the ability, if you're using our platform or if you're working with other data providers, look at those that are giving to similar causes. So they're giving to you consistently. Do we know if they're giving elsewhere? And in our case, we look at donors, we have gifts to external organizations. We can say these people are charitable. We know they're making gifts somewhere else. It could be in any number of sectors. Or you could further double down and say, well, I'm a hospital. I want only those I know that are giving to me for 3+ years in a row. Also, they're giving to other healthcare organizations. And don't forget, though, you want to be multi-channel, but you also want to know where to target them. Where are they most likely? Gone are the days of just sending the same message out to everybody through every channel. We have the ability to be more nuanced, and we have the ability here on GivingDNA to understand how people prefer channel engagement based on the channels they transact through. But you could start on your own file by just looking at, all right, I have these key multi-year donors. I know they've been giving to me for X number of years straight. How have they been giving to me? Have they been giving online? Have they been giving through mail or on the phone? If they've been giving to you, making gifts in their giving, once or twice a year for the last 3 years, make sure you're emailing them. And those are the group that you want to send out to. Email for a monthly. Same thing with mail. This is an important message. You want to convert these people to recurring donors. It's not something that you just include in the gift array on the return slip, right? That's going to get caught and muddied with all of the gift asks. That's not going to be effective. You can certainly do that on every gift you ask and on every landing page. But if you want people to see that you have a branded program, you want them to join, you want them to see this message. This is the priority of this month. Tie it in with what your organization's doing, but make sure that it's talking about, hey, you can have this impact if you begin giving to us on a recurring basis. Now, those are your key multi-year. Those are certainly the first group I would say look at. But you also want to look at your new donors. Who are the people that have just come in? And same thing with the recurring donors. I would look at donors that are new to your file. And again, this is something that you could do. You could start with just by looking at the data in your database, or if you're working with us or you're working with some other data insight providers out in the industry, recognize who's new, and then also recognize who has additional philanthropy, they're giving elsewhere, who has an affinity, they're either giving to causes similar to you, or if you have the understanding of what their tendency is. If you're a religious organization, I know that these people are new donors. I know they're giving elsewhere. They have a greater share of wallet, and I know they have a likelihood to give to me because they are likely to support other religious organizations. And so as we come up on time, those are just a few ways to look at who are your best prospects. We certainly have our ways to do it. We help our clients, obtain sustainer prospect groups. But those last two strategies I talked to, you can do, internally or with any of the providers you're working with.
All right, thank you, Ryan. I'm just going to get the slides back going here. Thank you so much for that demonstration.
Sure.
Yep. All right, so I wanted to show a quick example here of I believe this was a I think this was a direct mail only ask for giving.
Yes, it was.
Or yes, in fact,
I'm actually really interested in this one because we had a question that popped up around this. So
yep.
If you don't mind, I could just answer a question while describing this.
Go right ahead.
So Church World Service is a client of ours here at Pursuant, and they wanted to create a branded monthly giving program. They were very successful. I know Andrew Summers out there earlier, you asked, is it better to have branded or something that speaks to the impact of what you're doing? Well, Church World Service did both. They basically created a branded program that the name of the program, and it's escaping me here, Sustaining Partners. That spoke to when they went into an area, they wanted to create sustainability, right? So they were helping organizations with different, helping areas that had different disasters. They would go in, and rather than just providing bottles of water, they would, dig up a well. And that was really what they were speaking to in this offer, saying, hey, become a sustaining partner, because we're helping create sustainability in the areas throughout the world that we go in and help. It's not something that we drop in for a few months and then leave. No, we're making a long-term impact, and we want you to help us do that. And so it was very successful. They had a goal to bring in 400 new monthly partners. They had 330. They actually exceeded the goal. They received 405. And that was a couple of years ago. Every year since, they've brought on anywhere from 77 to 105 new donors. So it's continuing to grow. The average gift size of their recurring donors is going up. The number of donors is going up. It's been a highly successful program. And they're intertwining impact with branding. The branding isn't just something like their ambassador program. They're saying, no, you're our sustaining partners because we want you to help us offer sustainability to the people that we help.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And I also like, I think another part of Andrew's question that this answered is that, is it like better to have a branded name versus a descriptive name? And like you said, Ryan, well, they did both. Like you give it a name, but then you also make sure that the either the name itself is descriptive, or that everywhere that you use that name, you make sure you have some kind of explainer text that quantifies the impact, or it describes the impact of what that branded program is.
Yeah, I think it's important to have something that the program just can't be generic. You want it to have a meaning. That's really what's going to draw people in.
For sure. And that's also where we kind of get into how it's kind of this holistic look at like what are the benefits that people experience at that level of giving and within the program, whether it's access to information, or some kind of premium of like getting information early, or being invited to other sort of events, things like that, that helps them feel part of like that tribe and that community.
Absolutely.
And so as we wrap up here today, if there are any more questions, we are coming right up against our Q&A time, and I don't want to shortchange that. So if you've got questions that you want to ask, or things that popped for you during the presentation, you can go ahead and start entering those in the Q&A. And then we're going to go into some questions for you to consider as you are thinking about your monthly giving programs. So here are just some questions that we wanted to put in front of you as food for thought. And so it's kind of a way to audit the current state of your monthly giving. So how often are donors being asked to become monthly donors? Do you have a button on your donation form where someone can just check a box and say make their gift a monthly gift? Do you have any kind of banners on your website? Do you have any additional information in your printed materials that are getting mailed out? It could just be a really good exercise for you to sit down and see how often people are getting that ask put in front of them. Another great thing to look at in your data is how long does it take a new donor? How long after someone becomes a new donor on your file are they being asked to give a monthly gift?
Yeah.
Yep, go ahead, Brian.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the opportunity is, the best practice is you get a new donor, and then you're going to have a welcome series, right? You want to create engagement. So you initially thank them for that gift,
Mhm.
and then you send 2 or 3 communications that are really trying to build the relationship. You're trying to engage with them, show them the impact and the work that you're doing. And then when you make that second ask, right, that's the time that you can say, we have this great program. We would love to have you join it, and talk about why the benefit of joining that program is. So I think that second ask to that new donor, that's the opportunity right there to say, join our monthly program.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you, Ryan. And so with that, I'm going to go ahead and move on to put a free resource in front of you. And we have we're releasing an ebook called Our Fundraiser's Guide to Sustaining Giving. And we will be sending that out to everyone who registered for the webinar today. Should be hitting your inbox sometime next week. So you can take a look out. You can take a look, keep a lookout for that rather. And then if you want to go ahead and grab that, we do have a URL right there that you can visit. It's just pursuant.com/monthly giving ebook. It's a little bit much to try to jot down and remember. So we will be making sure that you get that sent to your inbox, because this is a really key topic that we get asked about a lot. And then if you would like to learn more about the GivingDNA platform, Ryan kind of gave you a glimpse of that today. You can go to pursuant.com/GivingDNA platform, or you can also use your phone to grab this QR code and go visit that right now. All right. So Ryan, as a few more questions come in, we have one. So if you have monthly donors but not a branded program, how can someone get started?
Well, I think you want to have a branded program, because as I said at the top of this call, almost everybody has an option and become monthly donors, it can be so much more powerful than that. So I would use the opportunity to create a branded program, and you don't have to have many benefits. I would simply start with a name the community, have some idea of why this community exists, and then welcome in those current monthly donors. It's going to help them stay on longer. For one, now they feel as if, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not just the one person that clicked that radio button to give monthly. That's where I would start. And then from there, you can begin to offer to everybody else that's on your file and coming onto your file. But I would certainly make sure you thank and welcome the people that are already giving monthly just because they clicked that button, without really thinking anything more than I'd like to give monthly.
Mhm. Awesome. Another question that came in, Ryan, has to do with your gift array. So meaning on that, either that printed form or in the form on your website, we saw kind of a wide range of monthly gifts. So we saw at the lower end around, $38 to $40 a month, and we saw also as high as $52 a month. And we also recognize that that range can be totally different based on the constituents that you have on your file, or whatever
Yeah.
kind of the population you have. So how can a nonprofit look at their data to figure out like what's kind of the sweet spot for some of their giving options when it comes to the monthly giving?
So there's two different groups you have to consider. You have to look at people that are new that can have this option. And from there, I would say, kind of stick with the industry norms. Can they, what are some of the, what's normal to you? Is it $10, 25, and $50 a month? Are those the options? Or do you stick more with maybe a little higher, 25, 50, 75 a month? But also then from the new people, I think what you have to also consider is people that are already on file. And with them, I would take a look at just like you look at a typical gift array from an individual and you say, all right, well, option one's highest past contribution, option two is highest past contribution, plus 50%. Look at what they're giving to you on average. And, you can look at your whole file and say, all right, these are my $500 to $1,000 donors. I want to have options 1, 2, 3 that bare minimum start at 1,000, and then they can go up to 1,250 and then 1,500, divide that by 12. So those are some of the options you want to look at. So the people that aren't on file yet, I think that's easy. You can decide, well, what do we want our monthly program to look like? Who do we want to attract? And then create those gift array asks. It's with the people that are already on file that you want to convert. I would then bucket your individuals, your donors, into giving ranges, just like you do for a giving pyramid, right? You have your annual, your mid, your major. Look at them by like your 50 to 100, 100 to 250, 250 to 500, etc. And then from there, you want to divide that by 12 and then have 3 options where the bare minimum, the first ask, is no lower than that 100 to 250, right? Divided by 12. So that's kind of how you would think about it.
Mm-hmm. And I think what's also powerful about that is the personalization that comes with sending that personalized amount to people. And one example I always think about is if you look at, if someone, for example, if you just say, hey, you've over the past year, you've given an average of this amount per year. If you were just to increase your monthly gift by this percentage, you could multiply your impact to that. And showing those kinds of numbers to people can be very motivating. And so as you're kind of thinking about variable copy or custom fields within your emails, or mail merge fields within your mail file, personally, I find it really motivating when people kind of put it right in front of me, like, this is what your current level of giving has been, and this is what's the impact, and here's how much you could impact, how much more you could impact with a relatively small change. All right. Well, we are about 4 minutes outside of our time today, and I don't want to overstay our welcome. So thank you everyone who has joined today. And as a reminder, we will be sending out this recording tomorrow. And if any of you have some additional things that you wanted to discuss, we will be including an invitation in that follow-up email with the recording for kind of a quick roundtable meeting that one of our client solutions representatives has put together. And so if that is of interest to you and you want to dialogue some more with your peers from this call, you can get more information about that in that follow-up email tomorrow. But anyway, without further, Ryan, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say thanks for spending the time, everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much for giving up your lunch hour today. And again, hope that you are looking forward to a fun and restful Memorial Day weekend.
Bye now.